Well, hello there, you amazing, amazing people. I hope you are feeling as amazing as you're looking. We're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes now because I did a live the other night. Oh, and by the way, this is video 2 of 2. So if you haven't seen video 1 after this, go check it out, where we wrap up the situation between Steve Gonsalves and Samantha, his daughter. Now, we're talking about alibis. We spoke about it in the live the other night, and I know not everyone's got sort of an hour plus to sort of traipse through my content. So I said that I would break some of it away and just do standalone videos. But we spoke about and chatted about in comments about alibis. Because look, ultimately, we're going to see Brian Kohberger go to court. We know there's a hearing on the 1st of December, reference the IgG, the DNA situation. Don't know what the outcome of that is going to be, but ultimately, he's going to court. He's going to court. He's going to face this trial. And it's likely because he simply just doesn't have an alibi. He doesn't have an alibi. And we've spoken about his alibi at length, and a lot of people have spoken about his alibi. Spoken about how his alibi is terrible. Awful alibi. Awful, I tell you. And, you know, gone as far as to even say that because of what his lack of alibi was, it changed their mind completely. It was him being guilty. It was as much as to say, look, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but now he's come forward and basically said that he was driving around at night. He's guilty. He's guilty because only freaks and weirdos drive about at night. Now, we have touched on this before, so this is covering old ground when we talk about the fact that, look, just because someone drives around at night, it doesn't make them a freak or a weirdo. Especially when they're living away from home. They don't really have a family at home. They're not a family man. They're a night owl, and it's just something that people do. I know some people, for them it's not normal because their normal is different than this person's normal. The arrogance comes when the person who doesn't drive around at night just deems it abnormal or freakish if someone else does something that they perhaps don't do. So, I can't get into bed with that thought. Everybody is unique, everyone's different, and some people do what other people don't do. Some people do stuff that other people consider weird. Like, I think it's fucking weird that people play golf. I do not, for the life of me, understand why people would want to dress up in trousers that look like they've been made from a picnic sort of mat, picnic rug, picnic blanket, whatever you want to call them, and whack a ball around with a stick and then walk up to said ball, and then when you get to it, smack the fucking ball 300 yards and go and walk after it again. I don't get that. So for me, golf is weird. Anyway, I digress. I do have a problem with golf. I hate it. Golf and fishing. Why would anybody want to sit beside a river with a stick, with a string hanging in the water, waiting on the off chance that a fish might bite it, to then go, oh, right, I've caught a fish, pull the hook out and throw it back in? Don't get it. And I'm not saying I know that that's some people's hobbies, and I just couldn't do it. I genuinely couldn't do it. So look, driving around at night is normal for some people. It's normal for some people, and it doesn't mean they're a freak if they do it, and it certainly doesn't mean they're a fucking murderer if they do it, because if it meant that people who drive around at night were murderers, then could you imagine? Could you imagine if we just skipped the formalities and just went straight to imprisonment? How many people would be being put in prison for being murderers because they're driving around at night? You want to look around where we live and see the amount of cars driving around at night. So I've been told. I don't drive around at night. I don't want to get locked up. But alibis. Alibis. We know, and I covered not so long ago, the fact that the alibis for the likes of Jack Showalter and co. were not shared with Steve Gonsalves. He had basically made a statement referencing the fact that they had been kept from him. They had just basically said, look, they're not involved. We believe they're not involved. We've cleared them from our investigations, but we can't discuss the alibi. And it led me to think something. And again, I'm raising this point as a standalone video for those of you who may have missed one we've spoken about in the past and won't have caught on with the live. But what is a good alibi? Let's take Jack DeCure, for instance. And what I'm not by any chance, I'm not saying that Jack DeCure has done anything. But what I'm saying is, what alibi would Jack have had that differed from what Brian Kohberger had had? And I don't mean Jack saying that he was driving around at night. I'm saying, what did he have as an alibi? Because I'm guessing that his alibi would have potentially been along the lines of, I was asleep. Can anybody confirm that he was asleep? And that will go into one of two directions. And that will be no, or that will be yes, my friend. So you was asleep and your friend can corroborate this. Yes, he can, yes. Who's your friend? Jack. You're Jack. Yeah, Jack Showalter. And I'm using this as an example. Jack Showalter, he can say, yeah, I was with Jack. He was asleep. So what was you doing then? I was playing video games. Can anybody... Do you see what I mean? For someone to have a rock-solid alibi, it has to be something that can be proven. And that has to either be proven by video, so you're in another place at another time, and that can be corroborated by CCTV imagery that is 100% showing that you are not here because you're here and we can see you, or because someone corroborates that, a person, and that person is definitely 100% credible and not just giving you an alibi because they're a mate. So with regards to the Idaho 4 case, just say, hear me out, just say Brian Kohberger didn't do this. Or he did do it, but other people did it with him. You're still in the realms of, okay, if he didn't do it, or he did do it, but other people did it with him, who are they? Who are these people? And is it someone who potentially got cleared and their alibi perhaps wasn't as strong as law enforcement gave it credit to be? I struggle to think what all of these... Because basically we're in a town where the vast majority of the people in it, and the vast majority of people who would have potentially been connected to this, if we talk about some of the things like the frat connection, the Greek Wall of Silence, and I know some people will be like, oh, he's fucking tinfoil hat again, he's fell down a hole. But again, I'm just thinking on the basis of Brian Kohberger either being innocent of this or not innocent, but had people helping him. And some people might turn around and say, well, if he had people helping, why isn't he shouting off the rooftop? He can't. Brian Kohberger, even if there was people who helped him, even if Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk fucking helped him, he can't say that. Because he knows damn well they won't dob themselves in. So if he turns around and say, well, I did it, but I did it with them, he has admitted guilt. And then they've got to prove that the others were involved. And they could just turn around and say he's a fucking liar. It's not quite as easy as that, is it? It's not quite as easy as that. He could point his fingers at them two girls. But that would be admission of guilt himself. And that carries the same punishment. And I believe that Brian Kohberger is looking to get off. He is eager to be exonerated. And even if he has some involvement in some way, shape or form, he is never going to admit to that. Even if the people who helped him, or he helped, are sitting right beside him. I don't mean Ann Taylor. Fuck me, I'm not saying she did it. I mean, metaphorically speaking, beside him. Do you know what I mean? So again, I ask, in terms of alibi, who around this situation truly has an alibi that would 100% mean that in the event that Brian Kohberger is found innocent, which I struggle to see how he will. I struggle to see how he will because we're devoid of an alibi. We are devoid of an alibi. And I have touched on this before, and that is that I feel that this is very well what found him here in the first place. If he had an interview with law enforcement, and law enforcement in that 15, 20 minutes that is unrecorded and undocumented, they ascertained that he would not be able to ever prove that he didn't do it, they've got their man. And how is he going to get out of it? We talk about technicalities. We talk about appeals later on down the line. But I ask you now, for those of you who are in the United States of America and are more au fait with your legal processes, because I am ignorant to it, I am just learning, how the fuck can he get out of this without an alibi? Please tell me. It's got to be technical. From what I see, from what my understanding is, it has to be through a technicality or a lack of evidence to prove. So the question again, as a side note, is genuinely, and I'm asking everybody, please tell me, just say that there is no more evidence. What you see in the public arena, what's out there, that genuinely is all there is there truly enough? Or is this walking towards a hung jury? And please let me also know down below, what would you consider in this case with everybody around this, whether it be Inan Harsh, whether it be Jeremy the neighbour, whether it be the girls who survived, whether it be Jack and Jack, alibis. Who out of all of these truly had an alibi? And what was it? And was it really that strong? I'll catch you all in the next one.